Today we're looking at negative numbers, particularly focusing on adjacent signs. Adjacent meaning next to each other, so it might look something like 3 plus negative 2, or it might be the negative 2 is in brackets. But the adjacent signs are the signs that are next to each other there. Okay. We're going to use what's called algebra tiles for this, although in this case we're not actually going to use them for algebra, just for numbers, integers, whole numbers. So you might see on your tiles you've got a coloured side and a white side. Now the coloured side, the tile like this, represents 1, okay, because it has an area of 1, the side length there is 1, side length there is 1, and your area here is 1. Okay, so the coloured square represents 1, and if you turn the coloured square over, if you flip it, you'll have a white square, and this is the opposite, the inverse of the area is negative 1. It represents negative 1. Okay, and you might notice if you had 1 and negative 1 as a pair like that, well, 1 subtracted 1, 1 take away 1 is 0, so that pair makes 0. That's a 0 pair. Okay, let's say I wanted to show the number 5, for example. Think about what that would look like. Or if I wanted to show the number negative 2, what would that look like? So if I wanted to do 5 take away 2 using these tiles, I would start off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have two choices. To take away 2, I could either literally take away 2, so I'm left with 3, or instead I could keep my 5 and I could have negative 2, like that. That's 5 here. It's negative 2 here. Now, if we remember from what we've just said, this pair makes 0, so I can get rid of that, and this pair makes 0, so like with before, I'm left with 3. And of course we know that 5 subtract 2 is in fact 3. But what we've also done, that was the first method we did was 5, and we took away 2, and that gave us 3. And then the other method we did is 5, and then we added negative 2. We added 2 negative ones, so we'd write that as 5 added negative 2, and you could put that in brackets if you want to show you it's the 2 that is negative, and that is also 3. So these are the same as each other, they're the same. All right. Let's say instead you were asked for 3 plus negative 1, which could look like that, or like this, with or without the brackets. Well, I'd have 3 first, 1, 2, 3, and I add a negative 1, like that. And I can pair that off to make 0, so I'm left with just 2. So that would just be the same as doing 3 take away 1. That's the same as each other. Okay, so I'm noticing a bit of a pattern here. I knew that 5 plus negative 2, that made 3. That was the same as 5 minus 2. And now I've got that these two are the same. Okay, let's try one more of those. Let's try 2 plus negative 4, which could be in brackets or not. Okay, if I make this, I've got my 2 here. If I add negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, well, that makes a pair, that makes a pair, and I'm left with negative 2. Well, could I have just done 2 take away 4? Let's have a look. If I start off with 2, well, I haven't got 4 to take away. I've only got 2. If I take away 2, I still have to take away 2 more. So I'd have to take away 2 more by using that. So that would be negative 2 still. So those are the same. So you might notice the pattern that plus minus here is the same as just subtracting. When you add a negative, you're adding these white squares, which is the same as taking something away. All right. Let's say we're given something like this. We're taking away plus 2. Well, that's 3, and I'm taking away plus 2. Well, I know that numbers are positive by default unless they say they're negative. So taking away plus 2, that's just the same as taking away 2. So that's 1. So actually, when you're taking away plus 2, there's no need to write the plus 2. You're just taking away 2. Plus 2 just tells you it's positive 2, which we already know most numbers are positive. Like this 3, didn't need to have a positive in front of that. I already knew it was positive. Likewise, 5 subtract positive 4 is the same as just 5 take away normal 4, which is just 1. Okay, so that's another thing. What about, though, if I have something like this? Negative 3 take away negative 2. Well, that's negative 3. If I take away negative 2, I'm taking away 2 of those, so I'm left with negative 1. So that's actually bigger. I'm actually getting bigger there. Is there any other way I could have got negative 2 from negative 3? Sorry, any other way I could have got negative 1, starting with negative 3. But if I want to just end up with this, I'd have to make some 0 pairs. So I could have done that. And the way I would have written that would have been negative 3 plus 2. Interesting, so this is the same as this. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say I'm given negative 5, take away negative 1, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I take away negative 1, so that's negative 4. And I could have likewise done that by having a positive 1 and making a 0 pair, so those would have gone. So that, again, is the same as adding. I'm getting bigger, it's getting less negative. So let's summarise this. Hopefully you'd be able to summarise it. Use algebra tiles at the beginning if you need, that's fine. Think about, though, what happens here, what happens here, and what happens here. What happens in each of those cases. Okay, and that's what you're going to start off with in your drill. Use the algebra tiles if you need them.